Before I start my video essay, I would like to open with a disclaimer. This video essay is intended to be the conclusion to my senior project, so I only ask for you to fully participate in the polls and questions introduced in this video to help show how this impacts the audience, you, and allow me to show the results to my class. Please answer the polls when they pop up in the video, and don't skip to the next one until I mention it. If you don't want to participate in the surveys, that's fine too. Due to this being a senior project, I have no intention of making any profit from the images or movie clips that will be shown in my video essay. All images, video clips, and sources will be cited either at the end of the video or in the description below. 2. This video is also intended to start a conversation about whitewashing and how it could possibly be resolved. So please keep it civilized in the comments, as your responses will be shown during my school presentation. 3. I am not an expert on this topic. However, I'm only sharing my opinions on this subject as well as some facts to help support said opinions. If you happen to have more information about this topic, please feel free to share this information in the comment section below. Please include some sources to prove that the information you're sharing is correct. Now, with that out of the way, let's begin with the video essay. Defining the term whitewashing is as simple as it sounds. That is, whitewashing can be considered an act whereby the casting of white actors as characters who were initially written or imagined as non-white. Instances of whitewashing in mainstream media have been occurring since the beginning of motion pictures and have become commonplace in movies and shows to the point of viewership accepting it as normalcy. Each year, it has continued to devalue people of color by denying audiences of inspiring, ethnically diverse characters, which might lead to low self-esteem and can otherwise convince children of the idea that white people are naturally superior. For example, Birth of a Nation features white actors wearing black face paint while mocking black people by acting black, as well as exaggerating both facial features and behaviors. This blackfacing is now recognized as problematic because of how accurately the movie was at portraying society. Another example can be found in the American classic film Breakfast at Tiffany's. White American actor Mickey Rooney plays as Mr. Yonoshi, an angry Chinese man. Sadly, this trend was only the beginning for whitewashing in movies, as its use would continue to be accepted by audiences in the post-civil rights era. Fast forward to the early 2000s, where we see highly acclaimed director Christopher Nolan cast Liam Neeson, an Irish actor, to play the role of Ra's al Ghul in the blockbuster film Batman Begins. A character that, as Matt Wilson's Screen Crush article reveals, is traditionally depicted in Batman comics to be of Arab descent. In Tropic Thunder, white actor Robert Downey Jr. portrays a fictional white actor named Kirk Lazarus, who is portraying in the film a black character in a fictional movie and decides to don blackface makeup both on and off set to better prepare himself. While the writers got laughs from the audience with that particular character's plot, it was also a nod to the overuse of whitewashing throughout the movie industry as a whole. Luckily, this whitewashing trend hasn't gone unnoticed by the general public. Kai Nelson's article, Where's the Representation? The Impact of Whitewashing on Black Children, goes right at the issue. In it, he states that many people are completely unaware of the disproportionate representation of races, cultures, and skin tones, and we have fully accepted the idea that white is the default race, and this is simply not true. This has inspired people to push back on whitewashing, whether it's making and or supporting movies with people of color as the lead, white actors and or actresses declining the roles to characters of color, or simply not watching whitewashed movies. Not only does whitewashing instill white people with the idea that they are dominating, but it also conveys the message that people of color are less important. Black people have felt this way even more so. For instance, Nelson also says we have allowed generation after generation of black children to develop without a full picture of the positive impact they can have in the world, especially in the world of media. Consequently, they develop a mindset that their body and they themselves are not good enough. In 2015, PBS NewsHour found data which showed that for nearly a decade, filmmakers have made virtually no progress in portraying more characters from non-white, racial, and ethnic identities. Of the top 100 films of 2014, nearly 3/4 of all characters were white, the study showed. Only 17 of the top movies that year featured non-white lead or co-lead actors. Having lead actors of color can have the same impact as the now infamous doll test, the effects of racism on children experiment. The doll test was a psychological experiment conducted in the 1940s to test the degree of marginalization felt by African American children caused by prejudice, discrimination, and racial segregation. The findings of this experiment concluded that because the majority of baby dolls that are made are predominantly white. Because of this, not only did the white and black girls believe that white dolls were prettier and the black dolls were ugly or mean, but children of color as a whole preferred the white dolls over the black ones. Media has a huge impact on children, especially movies. So when children of color only see the superheroes being portrayed by a white actor and the villain portrayed by a black actor, they believe this to be true in real life. They begin to accept that people of color cannot or should not be doctors, lawyers, dentists, or in any other leadership position. They become accustomed to seeing black and Latino people selling drugs, joining gangs, in shootouts with the police, abandoning their children, or getting sentenced to life in prison. It may seem like just a movie, but this is often what it's like being a person of color. According to the Bureau of Justice Statistics, at the end of 2017, federal and state prisons in the United States held about 1,248,900 inmates. As John Gramlich's Pew Research Center article points out, only 475,900 inmates held were black, and 436,500 were white. Additionally, the Huffington Post stated in 2011, minority students dropped out at a disproportionately higher rate than their white counterparts. In 2009, 4.8% of black and 5.8% of Hispanics between 15 and 24 dropped out of grades 10 through 12, compared with a 2.4% dropout rate for white students. Overall, the correlation to the reality of being black and the lack of positive black representation in movies is very harmful to not just black children, but all children of color who fail to see successful people of color. This is why movies such as Black Panther can have such a positive impact on children and adults of color because they see a superhero or superheroes that look like them. This is also why it's important to verbally challenge instances of whitewashing in movies, even if it's a conversation among friends or simple acknowledgement that something is wrong. The importance of having conversations about whitewashing and black erasure cannot be stressed enough. Nelson also writes, these conversations can lead to more people questioning the notion that white is the default race, help black children feel less alienated, and ultimately foster a stronger and more inclusive American society. In order to find a solution, a problem must be acknowledged. Finally, having racism structured into our media, let alone our movies, is very problematic, because it limits opportunities for people of color and doesn't give them a chance to correctly voice their opinion and thoughts on the characters' roles of the same race. it also limits the business to be dominated by one race, which means fewer jobs for minorities. Along with it mentally instilling the idea that youth of color are less important than white people. This brainwashes young children of color to have no goals or set low expectations for themselves, when in reality they too can become the next president. So, to quickly recap, whitewashing in movies is an issue because it can convince white people of all ages that they are superior and meant to reign over minorities. Due to this, they may think it's acceptable to put others of color down, notwithstanding that in reality it isn't. Therefore, it needs to be more aggressively addressed so it can be stopped. Because the truth is that everybody is equal, and value should be defined by character, not by color.